way of sort of stepping outside some of the more difficult tensions and side taking.
And narrowing of possibility.
And narrowing of perspective and possibility.
Yeah, maybe for me, narrowing the way of possibilities, it's also very much not concrete, I think. I mean, it's not a painting or an object which you can walk around. And that's for me really interesting, actually. And I came from making objects to doing short actions, which I recorded on a video camera. And then I was watching people watching me and thought that this is not, I could be like part of that. And then it was like a small step to perform in front of an audience, to work these things out a little bit better. And I like actually very much that it's not so concrete, for me anyway, that I can really play with it. That I don't have I know that there's a time, there's a space, there's a beginning, there's an ending, and that for me is enough. That's enough. I say with loads of confidence.
Did you want to jump in, Robin? I know Jürgen has a question he wants to.
I don't have much to say other than it's just such a great playground. I just feel it's just a completely natural thing for my personality, and I'm sure many other people's, and my way of thinking, and which I didn't have the language or the labels for earlier, but you just, swam in it in one way or another, and then just the same things that these two fellows said.
When you got started, what you were doing, did you know it was performance art? Were you thinking about
no,
that?
No, absolutely not.
So how did you just start making things, start doing things?
I was always a talker, storyteller, standing up at the dinner table and couldn't finish my meal and talking nonstop. And when I was about 10, my dad told me, you are going to be a storyteller. So it was this idea of always have a hard time sitting still, have to get into things, always getting into things. I think another thing probably, I was always had to be in a lot of therapy as a kid, like physical therapy and speech therapy for many years, and ended up in surgery. So there, at an early age, I was in a lot of biofeedback kind of processes. So there was this internal world and creative thing, and I think that had a big sort of influence in some ways. But I don't know. It's just I just like to play.
Use the word
it's a
play.
Playground.
Yeah, that word play, I think is very important. And going back to Be Beyond, we're trying to work with groups now in the sense of like every month the artists meet very regularly, and just whoever can go goes, and just they pick a spot and they start to perform, and it's like play, and it allows people just to test things or come up with invention and to relate to the other, and it's great. It's very interesting for anybody who. It's a great resource, I think, to find out things and to test out new ideas. But play is very important. We don't do enough of that.
So Andrew, I know you were trying to get in earlier. I don't.
No. In fact, it's
no, Andrew was also before earlier. So.
Yeah, of course.
Sorry.
Well, I just sort of like when Brian in particular was talking about sort of like a binarism, the ability to see two sides. I was thinking like, well, you also see performance, or performative discourse, or performativity as being a way of maybe opening up third and maybe even fourth or fifth or sixth spaces and getting outside of binary structures. Mm-hmm. I think that's largely where you went.
Yes, I think it did. I started to realize the binary doing installation, that there was a third option or fourth option. And it kind of opened up then into trying to open up various points of view or perspectives in things.
Yeah, thanks.
Sorry, you can go ahead.
No. I think, I know, in fact, I'm aware that an artist should not speak about his art. But, I'm really interested, in fact, the same question, and it comes with your question, in fact. So it's nearly the same what Paul asked already, but I'm especially interested, like I told yesterday, in quality. And so I'm interested, if you have an idea, maybe not, if you have an idea, what is for you the special quality of performance art? So why not going to dance, why not video? Of course, it had mostly historical, because I'm coming from this. But if you have an idea, I would love it. Why performance art? Why not? What is the special quality you can only find in this art form? You know what I mean? Maybe, yes.
Again, because I don't know if I'm.
I go for all three, actually.
Yeah, it's not just for you.
Okay.
But you can get us going.
I hope. For me, because I work in different ways with performances, there's slight variations in how I think about the form of the performance. But yesterday's performance in public is quite different because of the audience and the context. So what I get from that, or the experience of that, is the interaction, the attempt to interact and get feedback and to kind of make a little intervention, in a sense, into the thinking or into a moment of time with someone. So for me, that's one of the attempts in that work. And also for me, the risk of that interaction, what might happen and the experience of that. But if I'm thinking of maybe different performances, the risk is a higher element of things not, just how it works. How do I deal with the situation and being in that moment, in that live experience of what happens. How do I make decisions? How can I, keep this clarity or this aesthetic honesty in place with the integrity of trying to do this thing in that live moment. So those are the things I kind of respond to. But I also want to communicate. I want the work to communicate and translate across as many boundaries as I can. And it's up to people to come to it, I think, to receive it. Quite subtle sometimes. So.
I think, it's a very good question, and I think about this very often myself too, and I very often cannot answer the question. That when I see something and I think it's good to think in terms of bad or good, or because maybe they are irrelevant, but of course when it feels right. Yesterday we talked about this as well. When the circle is round, and when the interest has been kept. But this is very close to me, because performance is just a word and it includes so many different things. But when a performance is built up out of different actions which take place, when people use certain objects, it raises expectations. And when I'm surprised, because it is not what I think where it's heading to, for me that's a very good thing, I think. And I like to be confused very much, but somehow things need to fall in place. And if it does that because of repetition or because of the use of certain objects in a specific context, in a specific place, I think that for me makes a good performance. But that is very much thinking of a performance which involves these objects and different actions, and it doesn't mean that a durational piece which is doesn't include any objects at all, but maybe just a gesture can also be good, I think. But I will for me that is it's very difficult for me to be judgmental about it. It's more like an emotion or a feeling that I think, this is right, and don't ask me why. So, yeah.
So you sort of like had a two-part question. It was like, what is good performance art, and sort of my mind, or what?
Yeah, he wants to know what's good.
But no, it wasn't quite. Can you repeat your question, please, Jürgen?
I only wonder if you have if it's important for you, or if you have an approach to why, what is. It's for me, always I'm thinking about what is the question of quality performance. It's an unanswerable question.